Okay, let me start this. I'll do just a quick intro and then just ask a question and then we'll just get it going.
Okay.
Good for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're going to count down 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? We are here. Joshua Grady here. This is the Agent Talk podcast. For those that are tuned in, this is interview week. Really just kind of felt led to bring more stories to the table, I would say, of individuals that I've met along my journey that have gone on to do certain things in a variety of different endeavors. And so today we are here with SHARI Coulter. Is that pronunciation correct?
That is. You
SHARI
got it.
Coulter Ford. SHARI is someone I was trying to tell my Agent Academy, I don't know necessarily how I came in contact with Tohi. I don't know if it was through Instagram or whatever it might have been, but SHARI is someone that has really helped out our brand, especially on the marketing and media side. She has her own company, Tohi, and just someone that I think has a good heart, first of all, from just a relationship we built. I can tell that, but also someone that, from what I can see, has had some sort of success in the work field as well. So SHARI, one, glad to have you, first of all. And secondly, just off the top, for someone that has never heard of you, never heard of SHARI Ford before, who are you?
Let's just start with a small question there, Joshua.
Yeah, good.
That's like the softball question to start with, deep and meaningful. Who are you anyway? Mm-hmm. First of all, thank you for having me. I have enjoyed getting to know you these past few months, and I think you have a compelling story. You're very engaging. I was drawn to you from the beginning, and after seeing the long game, I have a better understanding and know why I've been drawn to you. I did. I actually have to say that I watched it 1.5 times.
Okay.
So I was able to watch it at half of the second time, but it was very compelling, very well done. Tells a great story, and you and your father have a great story and a very engaging way about you.
Thank you. A question before continuing that. I do have a question for you. As someone from the outside looking in that saw the documentary, for those that have not watched, I suppose if you go on my Instagram at @agentgrady_, the link is in the bio, Fox Sports 1. But for someone on the outside looking in, obviously you follow me on Instagram, so you kind of see we've had conversations, but what would have been, I guess, your takeaways from if you had like one takeaway from the documentary? Was there anything that stands out to you?
I think I appreciated it maybe from a different perspective than other viewers, being a fellow entrepreneur. So my takeaway was really about understanding and appreciating at a very basic level how challenging it is to be an entrepreneur in whichever field of entrepreneurship you choose to pursue, whether it's a consumer product, whether it's a service. How hard it is to build a brand, to establish yourself, to establish a clientele, and how hard it is to build that brand. So I think my point of view probably was a little different than most, but I think that was what stood out to me, was just that sort of kinship about how hard it is, and an appreciation for what you're doing.
I appreciate that for sure. Well, for those that have not checked, it is called The Long Game, available on Fox Sports. Thank you, SHARI, for watching it. For one, I appreciate the support, not only from you watching, but just everything, all the dialogues that we've had. So, okay, let's see.
So I was avoiding that.
Yeah, you were avoiding the question.
See how I dodged that question you
did, but I'm gonna reshape it just a little bit. So right now, if you could put in a phrase where you are right now, in just career-wise, we'll start. Where are you, like with Tohi, let's say? Like, what are you doing with Tohi?
So Tohi, I think the problem that we're trying to solve is, I think we are and it's been so evident in this past year with COVID, as a society, how nutrition and a lack of emphasis on nutrition and a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle can make people vulnerable to chronic illness, as well as unforeseen kind of diseases and pandemics like COVID. So I think that the problem we're trying to solve and shine a light on is that sort of healthy, active lifestyle with the incorporation of healthy brands and products like Tohi, which is an antioxidant-based beverage. It's a wellness beverage. It's great for a healthy immune system, cardiovascular health, brain health, bone health, et cetera. So we're trying to contribute to that awareness and providing easy, convenient solutions for consumers to incorporate into their kind of daily routine and daily diet.
How did you get into working with Tohi? Like, where are you? Okay, so where are you from originally?
I am from Kansas City, Missouri, the heartland.
Okay, so you're from, let me see. Are you good here?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just getting a strange thing on my screen.
Okay, so you're originally from Missouri.
Yes.
Did you go to school, college, university? Like, what was the path?
So I've had sort of a non-linear path to get where I am, which I think is kind of the best journey. But yes, my undergrad is actually in journalism from the University of Missouri. And then along my career path, I went to business school at Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. So my career path, as I said, is very non-linear. How I got to Tohi from being a journalism undergrad and going to business school is kind of an interesting story, but I like to think that it's sort of the culmination of my experiences, my life experiences, my professional experiences, and certainly my just interest and my sort of personal commitment to leading as healthy a lifestyle as I can, and an active lifestyle and sports oriented lifestyle. So I'd say that that it's a certainly a longer story than that, but I'll cut it short there and just say that it's sort of a culmination of experiences. But right before I started Tohi, sort of the end point of how I got to Tohi is I left Kansas City, after going to undergrad at Mizzou, and then kind of was the corporate vagabond for a while. I ended up in Denver, Los Angeles, San Diego, Philadelphia, New York, overseas, had a stint in London, built an international business unit for a company, came back to New York. So my last role before I started Tohi, before I launched Tohi, was I was leading healthcare-related investments for a private investment fund. So I had exposure to therapeutics, devices, diagnostics, health IT, sort of the whole spectrum in the health sector. But I had a personal interest, obviously, in the nutrition side of that. And it was sort of when personalized nutrition, the thought of really, tailoring in a very scientific way nutrition to people's genetic composition, I sort of got, intrigued by that. But along with that, one of my best friends in New York, wonderful man named Jonathan Mariner, he was the chief investment officer, chief financial officer for Major League Baseball. And I kind of got inside baseball around how Jonathan looked at investments across the spectrum that would have an impact on sport. And that was sort of the convergence of what I was doing professionally, what I was seeing across the spectrum, and Tohi was sort of born out of those things as far as an opportunity to jump into what was kind of a crazy burgeoning part of the consumer products, that healthier for you food and beverage sector that was really exploding as people were more focused, I think, on making healthier choices for their diets.
Did you grow up with just like a vision for, wanting, because even a lot of what you just said, you just mentioned being in London and New York and doing certain things, working with therapeutics, a lot of stuff I didn't know you, quite frankly, honestly, had an experience in, which is why we're here. But like, when did the vision come for you that like, I want to be, because it seems like you've done a lot. Like, it seems like you've kind of had your hands in different things as your journey has progressed to now where, you are a CEO. Like, was it always the vision for you that like, I want to be this like spearheader in this field? Or like, when did it, I guess, become a reality for you? Like, this is the path you wanted to go on?
I think that two things, I think. As far as kind of from a career perspective, I got pretty lucky coming out of undergrad in the company that I was with because it was growing very fast and there were just opportunities. And I found that I was willing to take risks. So when there was an opportunity for a new role or to start a new division or to open a new office, I was not averse to risk, and I was willing to raise my hand and say, I can do this. I want to do this. I have an idea. Can I do this? And I was in an environment where that was a possibility. So I think my confidence grew in my ability to execute on opportunities when I was given an opportunity. So that's one thing. But as far as like the origins of Tohi, like many things, a lot of things kind of come back to your childhood and sort of fundamentally the values that you grew up with or the things that you were exposed to. And I can contribute my interest in healthy foods and a healthy lifestyle to my grandparents. My grandparents were tenant farmers on a 600-acre farm that had traditional row crops, corn, wheat, soybeans, but also, they ran feed cattle, and they had a huge garden. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why my family was able to eat healthy. We didn't, grow up with a lot of money. I'm the youngest of 5 children, and basically we spent a lot of time at that farm and helping on the farm, certainly with the garden, canning, harvesting, all of that. So I think my appreciation and love for food, where it comes from, healthy food. Maybe I wasn't as educated in a sophisticated way about the actual nutrients, but in the most sort of farmer basic way, you understood what was healthy, why it was healthy, and all of those things. So I'd say it's kind of, I can attribute that to, all the way back to my childhood.
I like that. I like both of your answers. I want to come back to the risk after touching on this, because I think that's a good point that you just mentioned. But in regards to, like, I guess this year, so I grew up like city boy. Like, I'm from Tampa, grew up in the city, suburbs, things of that nature. My wife is from Boston area, but New Hampshire, so kind of more woodsy, more in nature. So the blend of live, but also my mom she's always like growing. Like, we would grow up with an aloe plant, or she would grow this fruit, nothing crazy. But I'm kind of rambling. But basically, in second grade, we went on this trip to Orlando. And I got this little mango. It was like a Japanese plum, not a mango, Japanese plum. We got it. And we took the fruit, and I took, you take it and it's got the seed inside of it. So we went to the backyard. It's like I said, I'm second grade, 7. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I put it in the ground. I don't even remember this, but I know I did it, planted it, whatever that step looked like. And now it's been, I was 7, I'm now 28. So it's been 21 years. That's the only thing I've ever planted. And it is the biggest plant in my home. But what it showed me, because I would go, you see the process just a little bit. We all kind of think we know how things grow. But it was when I went home one time after just not noticing, like, you go through high school, I just never looked. And when I came home one time from college, it was towering over the yard. And it was in that moment where I was like, wow, to be able to grow something is kind of cool. Like that.
Right.
Me, and I guess why I brought my wife in with everything with COVID, what it has shown me for sure is, one, if you could own anything, I think land for sure. Land should be the number one. And 2 is the ability, I want to grow my ability to basically live off of the land, feed myself, kind of like what you were saying, spending time. Like, if you think about it, we spend 8 hours a day working for what? To get money to live and eat, so it's right. Your work becomes dealing with your own food. So I think that's right. I think that's very interesting. Secondly, going back to the risk now, question for you. So on my journey, like you said, when I was younger, I kind of realized part of it, I grew up with a casino 45 minutes away. So I wasn't immune to risk. But on the business side, I do think that great opportunities, whether it's small or large, you are going to have some amount of risk to it. Starting your own business. Anyone that starts their own business, there's risk. Anyone that decides, look, I'm not going to work the typical, I'm working for you, you're telling me what to do, I'm going to collect this check for 30 years. Some people do that, and that's fine. But something outside of that involves like, I got to take some sort of step. For you, was it, I know you brought up the childhood, was it in your childhood that you realized like risk itself is not a bad thing if I kind of know what I'm doing or have the due diligence? Did you always have that side where I'm not afraid of risk, or was that gradual for you?
That's a really interesting question. I think there's something innate about entrepreneurship. And then I think there's a part of it that's learned, because risk in and of itself is not always a good thing. There are crazy risks and there are measured risk and calculated risks, right? But the willingness to take risk, I think, is something that's innate. So I think there's always been, I've always had that sort of kernel. And I guess as you hopefully mature, you're able to sort of harness that, that innate sense within you and make it more kind of calculated and be able to execute on risk. But yeah, I think it's always been there. And I think that is something that, fortunately, as a child, especially, as a female child, my parents never tried to make me go put me in a certain lane and say this is appropriate or expected or whatever. I think we were given sort of some freedom to operate and be ourselves. And that encouragement, I think, and not putting limitations certainly helped that blossom in me, I guess.
So touching on that, in regards a bit to your journey, even before the childhood, I think the way we are raised, the environment of our home, the space that we're in is critical to how we are going to turn out in life. I think I've seen that in myself. I see that I have a son now, so I see that. I see the importance of the space that we have. Building off of that, for you moving forward, was there ever any point where maybe that risk, or not even just risk, but is there anything that stands out for you as a moment where it was unsuccessful? Was there a business venture for you that was unsuccessful or wasn't how you wanted it to be? Is there anything that stands out to you? I guess you could limit it as a failure. Is there anything for you that's like, that right there was the big one for you?
I have had several failures along the way, absolutely. And that's why I was going back to saying I've had a kind of a nonlinear path to get here. But I think that failure you can either be defeated by it, or you can learn from it and let that sort of feed your next, your next opportunity. And I fortunately was able to kind of learn from things and then be given the opportunity again to try again. So yeah, I've certainly had several failures. And when you say failure, some of it is attributable to decisions that you make that maybe weren't the right decisions, but sometimes it's just circumstantial. I was running a business in New York, a venture capital backed business in New York, when 9/11 happened. And it destroyed the business. It destroyed the startup community at that time in New York. So, whether it's decisions that you make that end up leading to a business failure, or whether it's circumstances beyond your control, whatever the case is, you got to get up, dust yourself off, and figure out how to keep moving forward.
Two questions. One, if there's someone listening right now that they have a venture they want to step into, there's a business they want to start, whether, again, however big, maybe they just want to cut grass, whatever it can be, but they are fearful of failing, fearful of, like, I remember I went to Vandy to talk to some of their students, and there's this guy there who was adamant that he really wanted to start a YouTube channel. He's wanted to have one for like years, but he said the one thing that has prevented him from actually starting it was, what if nobody subscribes to me? Like, that was the blocking point for years, was that question. What would you say to someone that wants to step out and to do something, anything that they feel a passion for, but they are afraid of it not succeeding? I say, what would you say to that individual?
I think I would say you really, if that's the case, then you really have to question your motivation. Because if your motivation is not aligned with what you think the outcome is, the expected outcome is, that's probably where fear is going to paralyze you, and you will never be successful in that journey. So part of what I would I'm not obviously a psychologist, but I would say that part of that fear is, there's too much concern about what other people think or how other people value you versus how you value yourself. And if that fear is there, you will never be successful, because as an entrepreneur, you have to put aside those concerns about whether somebody else thinks this is a crazy idea, a crazy concept, you're crazy to do this because it's too risky, it's too this, it's too that. You have to be able to, I think, have enough self-confidence in a humble sort of way to be able to overcome that fear and take the first step, the second step, and the 10th step to keep going. So I would say that fear is because you're too concerned about other people's perception of you.
Facts. That's very true. Fear is a paralyzer, for sure.
And also I'd say if you think that that's the worst thing, if that's the worst thing that could happen to you is failing in a business, then you're not going to succeed either, because as you know, life is full of unexpected things happening. So if that's your worst fear, boy, you're going to be you're going to be surprised in life, because lots of things can happen.
That's good. So true. There's something else. So you spoke on failure as well. So all inclusive. So someone that maybe they took the step. They applied for the job, whatever the step was for them on their journey, and they have now reached the first benchmark of failure, whatever they deem that as. Like right now, if they're listening to this, they're like, man, yesterday I really felt like a failure because of whatever. How do you bounce back from, I think you just mentioned, there are two options really. You can let failure defeat you, or you can learn from it. Someone that right now is kind of within those crossroads, how do they take that step to learn from it and not allow it to defeat them and hinder them from moving forward?
Right. So I think everybody has their own timeline for self-pity party, and whether that's 10 minutes or 2 days, allow yourself to feel that. And grieve, but then you have to figure out, okay, then everything's a decision tree, right? Then my decision point is it rational for me to continue to move forward and push forward, or have I reached a decision tree where I know this isn't going to work, or it's not going to work for me or my family, or all the other pressures that you have in life to consider as you're making these decisions. So I think you have to be, allow yourself some space, and then just be rational about really thinking through. I think that, there's a lot of, I think people focus more on the successful entrepreneurs, and it's sort of like actors, overnight success. How easy it must have been for them to get where they are. Here's a billionaire, here's the latest and greatest thing. Behind all of that, there's always some struggle, some overcoming failure, overcoming, negative thoughts or feelings or other people's expectations. So I think it's just a matter of, I think you can be born with resilience, but I think you can also build resilience. And that sort of resilient mindset to be able to get through the challenging times and put them behind you and just keep moving forward, whichever direction you choose.
I like that. That's good. That's very wise. Because I think even when you just mentioned about it with the pity party, that is something that I think it's allowed. But you should, I think Tony Robbins has something where he had said he sets a limit on like, this is how long I give myself. And
Right.
I adopted that. I said, okay, like for me now, like if a player, say we're recruiting a player for, 10, 11 months, and which has happened to me, and they don't sign with me. Like it hurts. Like that's like, dang, that's failure.
Right.
Like he chose someone else over me. And I used to sulk for days. Like days, what did I do wrong? Replaying all the things in my head. But then what I decided to do is I said, okay, I'm gonna give myself, if I'm upset about something with GSA, with work, I'll give myself 24 hours. For 24 hours, I can be as upset, as mad, whatever, as I want. But once 24 hours comes, like, it's time to go. It's time to go. For
Right.
you, because I think that's a big touching point, do you have like a mental clock that's like, look, it's time to go? Like, how do you keep it moving as someone? Because like you said, being an entrepreneur, I'm 5 years in. You've been an entrepreneur longer than me, so I'm sure I've had plenty of failures. So I can only imagine you would just naturally have more, but you've continued to take those steps. Is there like a set time frame that you give yourself? I'm just curious.
I'm kind of like you. I think that, time is precious and you really just can't wallow in things. So I'd say I have a personal limit of 24 hours as you do, because at a certain point, I mean, there's too many things. You're in those 24 hours, you're going to miss other opportunities. So I think you just have to have a mindset that, okay, think about it, wallow in it, analyze it, and then just get on with it.
Perfect. Okay, just a few more questions for you. Being someone that you are a woman CEO, you are the top, and you are a woman. For years, decades, centuries, women have strived to, be able to get their fair shake, fair influence, fair say, fair pay. It's continuous things that are going on. What, I guess, has been your experience as a woman in most cases, I guess, entrepreneurship, most people think of men. What has been your experience through your career being a woman in, I would assume most fields that you've been in have been men-led? I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong. What is it being a woman in those spaces for you as your career has progressed?
Wow. That's definitely a loaded question.
When someone says wow after the question, that's when you know it's a good question.
It is a good question.
Anything that you would be open to sharing?
That's another thing that I think I struggle with, especially in the very sensitive environment that we are in now, in trying to have these real conversations about race and equality and all of these things. I have to admit, I struggle with it a little bit because, yes, have I experienced and do I still experience feelings of, being dismissed or real or not? I guess I struggle with it because I think part of me is fundamentally always been taught that you're not going to use things like that as an excuse or as a barrier for yourself. So there's sort of that is ingrained in me versus okay, acknowledge it. And realize what it is and try to figure out how to move past it, move around it, move by it, move forward, move over it, whatever it is. So I'm struggling to answer the question because, yes, there have been numerous demonstrable incidents in my past that there was clearly, bias because I'm a woman. In the industry, there are very few female CEOs in Fortune 500 companies. We've made some progress. If you look at it statistically across the spectrum in terms of CPG companies, healthcare companies, et cetera, there's just underrepresentation where there needs to be representation. If you look at it from access to capital, I think statistically women, female-founded companies still get less than 3% of venture capital investment. So clearly at a macro level, we've still got lots of issues to deal with, but that's a question I'd love to sit down with you over a drink and just talk about both of our experiences and how we deal with it. And going back to the earlier part of the conversation, how your early influences help you deal with it as well.
That's good. That's a good answer. I think all just good feedback and insight, because I think very similar. Like if someone asked me, what has my experience been like being a Black man in this field? It's very twofold, like you said, where it's like, have you experienced certain things? Of course, absolutely, 100%. But then it's also like, it doesn't matter. You keep pushing forward. And it's, to me, I think that's something that I'm glad that you did pick up, is it doesn't matter what field you're in or whatever it might be. If you are a minority in any sort of aspect, you're always going to have to go through something. That could be if you're a left-handed person in America. Honestly,
Right.
like if you're a left-handed person in America, your notebook writing is going to be a little different than everyone else because it's made for right-handed people. So I think that's very interesting. Yeah. Question I've been wondering, just the last few. Tohi, okay. Shout out Tohi, little plug. Shout out Tohi. Hashtag drink Tohi. The website is drinktohi.com, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Check them out.
Yes.
Drinktohi.com. Available where? Walmart, I know. Amazon, I know. Anywhere else?
Yeah, we're over, I don't know, inching up to 1,000 stores across the country, a lot in the Midwest, and now we're kind of breaking out to both coasts, but definitely online as well, which is the way a lot of people are buying food and beverage right now. So as you said, the Amazon platform, the Walmart marketplace, and a lot of other direct-to-consumer platforms, but Drink Tohi definitely.
Perfect. The Aronia berry itself.
Yes.
Can you just give a background of what it is? Because before I heard Tohi, never heard of it. The Aronia berry itself, what it is, how you got introduced, and just like why someone, if they're listening to this, like, and not even like on a sales, but like why this berry is good for you.
Yeah. So this kind of the fascinating part of the Tohi story was when we came up with the concept for what we wanted the foundation of the company to be, and literally just serendipity as I was Google searching for specialty crops, unique ingredients, things like that. I came across this story about aronia berries, and the story was, it's a plant that's native to North America, was used by Native Americans for medicinal and nutritional values, but yet it was under commercialized and only recently being grown on a commercial basis. So, I quickly kind of cross-referenced, well, holy cow, how can you find this berry so healthy and full of nutrients and antioxidants, but where can I find it in a consumer product? And that was literally like the light bulb moment, because when you Google searched or Amazon searched or whatever for aronia-based products at the time, there was nothing. And that was my light bulb moment to say, here's an opportunity to bring a under-commercialized yet historic superfood to a new consumer audience. And that's really kind of the origin of finding the ingredient and building a platform on that ingredient. So there's tons of clinical academic research. That field, the body of research is actually growing, and it's getting a lot of attention right now. Aronia berries are because of the focus around finding natural immune boosting foods and plants. And aronia comes up a lot when you search, antiviral natural remedies or nutritious foods, et cetera. So that's, certainly a tailwind for us right now, is the whole immune boosting value proposition of aronia and of Tohi.
So, and just correct me if I'm wrong, the aronia berry has 4 times the antioxidants of a blueberry and double that of acai. Is that backwards?
Yeah, no, that is correct. Yeah, you got it.
I did a little research.
Is it what?
I said I did a little research.
You have. You are actually a great spokesperson for us and have been for months now. But yeah, if you compare it to other plant-based like superfoods, I believe that the research shows it tests higher in the total measure of antioxidants than like 250 plants that were tested as superfood plants. So it's crazy healthy and crazy good for you.
Okay, good. Again, y'all check them out, definitely. I love the product. I think my favorite is, what is the flavor? It is the pinkish one. It's
dragon fruit.
Dragon fruit.
Dragon fruit is
I like
awesome.
I like the dragon fruit bowls too. Okay,
Yeah.
so last few questions for you. As someone that has, done certain things, you're a CEO, you've had your successes, you've had your failures, but you've made progress for sure. What is next for you? Like, what is the next step for, in your journey, I suppose? Like, what keeps you ticking at night and keeps you motivated?
I think what motivates me is, as I said, Tohi is really sort of the culmination for me in terms of all my experiences. I'm all in on growing this brand. And I think what motivates me is, again, this sort of critical juncture I think we are as human beings around focusing on food as medicine and nutrition, and really focusing on what we put on our bodies is what the outcome is. So a lot of the issues we have around chronic disease, diabetes, cardiovascular issues are all related primarily. Some of it is obviously genetics, but a lot of it is influenced by nutrition. So my mission is to participate in this movement for healthier for you options in food and beverage. And I think Tohi, based on Aronia, can be part of that platform. So my mission is, go beyond the got to get the plug in here, right? Go beyond just the ready-to-drink beverages and build out a platform of other Aronia-based products. So I think we're just sort of at the beginning of what the possibilities for us in terms of building out this platform of other food and beverage options. Love
it. Okay, 2 questions left for you unless another one pops into my head. If you were left, you got pen, paper, or a microphone, even a cell phone, whatever's most comfortable, and you can give one final truth to the world, where it's like the world is able to listen to Shari one time for the rest of the world, and you get one message to give to the world, what would that message be?
Wow. I think it is about, I think the joy, the conclusion I have come to is that the joy and meaning you find in your life is related to 2 things primarily. One is investing in people that you love and investing in those relationships and truly making those relationships meaningful and mutually beneficial. And the second is finding something professionally that you love doing, enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be an entrepreneurial venture, but find something that you love doing, and you'll feel better about life, about yourself, and you'll be able to put more into those relationships that you're building. Seems simple, but I think it's worked for me.
Solid, for sure. Before I ask our last question, Shari, one, thank you for being on here for sure. I appreciate it. Continue to look forward to the progression of your career, of Tohi, of our relationship, everything, all of the sorts. Where can people connect with you and Tohi?
So we're definitely very active on social media. So whether it's LinkedIn for more kind of business professional, certainly Instagram and Facebook. And I believe we're on Pinterest as well, and definitely on Drink Tohi, because we have some great stuff that we put out in our email and promotions and interests and all of that. So, and the other thing I wanted to say is we have a great platform, because a lot of your audience is sports related and people that are interested in sports. We have a great platform of athletes, of professional athletes that are ambassadors for Tohi. And, like our relationship, we choose them based on their character, based on their commitment to a healthy lifestyle and their commitment to nutrition, all the kind of values that align with Tohi. So you can kind of follow those athletes and their journeys and their pursuit of excellence in the sports that they're in. And that's a relationship that over time we're building together with your platform as well.
Right. Love it. Love it. Love Tohi. Love, yeah, I appreciate you, Shari. Last question for you. I guess before then, for those listening, I appreciate y'all being on here. Agent Talk Podcast. We are available on all of the things, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Instagram. Shari, last question. Someone has done everything that you've done. You've seen what you've seen. You've traveled a little bit, XYZ. What is one thing that you are most grateful for right now?
Oh, wow. I think I'm so grateful. As many challenges as we have in this country and in this environment, I have traveled all over the world. I've been fortunate to see a lot of different environments. I still think that we are blessed to be in a country like this, with the ideals that we have and with the promise that we can all make it a better place for all of us. I still believe that it's the best environment and the best chance that we have to make this a better place for us, for kids, for grandkids. So I am grateful to be a citizen and to participate in making this a better country. And I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Yes, that's so good. We had a guy, Daniel Escobar, that was an Army Ranger, who was on the podcast as well. And he spoke on that. It's not until we see other locations and you see what's really going on in the rest of the world that you realize, like, yeah, we have our own issues. We do. Like, we got our problems, but man, I wouldn't want to be nowhere else, honestly. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the challenges that we have is not enough people in the U.S. get the opportunity to see other environments, other countries that are not democratic, that have different challenges. I think that opens your eyes and gives you a different point of view about feeling good about what we have and how it can be improved.
Correct. So true. So true. Okay. Well, Shari, that's all I got. I appreciate you being on.
Okay.
Again, for those,
this is awesome.
Yeah, those that listen, check Shari out. Check out Tohi. Buy their drinks. Support them. Okay.
Yeah.
I will do
support a small business.
Yeah, I will do the sales pitch for Shari. They're a great company. Really working with them. My mom is a consumer now, so y'all check them out for sure. This is Shari Ford, and this is Agent Talk, and we're out.
Thank you.